Hello, my friends on YouTube. Today is Sunday, the 26th of January 2025. Today's video for grown up only. Anyone under 21, please leave the room. As you can see, I'm playing with the spelling a little bit because I don't want the video to be taken down because there are many people who complain and report the channel. I don't want them to close the channel. So we have to meet them at their game. Try to understand what I say because I have to break the word so we don't get a strike. The PIM prophIT. Well, there's a prophet and a prophIT. To make money, that's a prophet. They are very similar. The Prophet of Allah needed to do some 20% to be exact. When they went out to work, go to the next village and do some work there. Whatever they gather, the booties, he will get 20%, 1/5 of all what they loot is for him. This is just an introduction. As I was reading, I found out that there was hadith. I spoke about it before. Many people actually spoke about it before. I'm going to put it in the description box. It says, invade Tabuk. Tabuk is an area in the north of Mecca. And it might have been the area of Syria of today. And this area, there were many people, blonde people in this area back then. And probably because they are close to Europe, many Europeans used to come do trade there. So there were European there. And many of the European are white skin and blonde hair. And this is a big prize for those in Arabia. So if back then, let's say, to buy a woman, because women, not just in Arabia, all over the world back then, they were sold and bought like properties. So let's say I want to buy a wife or two. I go to the market and I choose, and I don't know back then they had their own prices, but let's say $1,000 for one. Because if you remember, there was one hadith, it says the grandfather of the Prophet of Allah took his son. The grandfather of the Prophet of Allah took his son, who was supposed to be the father of the Prophet, to the market, and he bought two women. One for himself, for the grandfather, and one for his son, Abdullah, the father of the supposed to be the father of the Prophet. And they went back home. Each had his woman, and he stayed with their women. Okay. So they used to buy these women, but if you buy a blonde woman, she was very expensive. So many people, they wanted blonde women because it means you are wealthy and you can afford this kind of woman. I don't think a person who buys a Rolls Royce to be his car is necessarily a poor person. So back then you could compare that. A person who has a Honda and the other one has a Rolls Royce. Big difference. So people wanted the white the blonde women. It doesn't matter whether she is from honorable family or not. She is white. Let me have her. So the Prophet of Allah, may the blessing of Allah be upon him, we have to give him respect so that we can keep the channel open. Okay? Other than that, they will close it. So let's give him respect. Now, he went to a person, his name Al-Jad bin Qais. This man was a wealthy man. He had money, he had influence, but also he loved women, which, I mean, men like women, that's natural. Okay, back then you buy a woman. I mean, they didn't know any better, so men bought women as wives. They will marry them. So this man, as a wealthy man, I would assume that he had more than one wife. The wealthier you become, the more wives you have. If you sit with your friends and you tell them I have 7 wives, that means you have 7 homes. That means you are a well-respected person. It means you have wealth to support 7 homes and 7 women and their servants and so on and so forth. So that was the situation back then. So the Prophet of Allah went to this man, Jad bin Qais, and he told him, invade Tabuk, that area in the north. You will gain the blonde girls, the blonde women. And this man loved women. But, I mean, how good it is if you go to invade, you get killed, and there are blonde women there. If you are dead, you are dead. Okay? You cannot enjoy your wife that you have, or the wives you have, or the blonde woman that you want to acquire. And it seems to me that this man was a businessman, a wise man, so he thought of it. This is a dilemma, because if you go against the Prophet of Allah, you will bear a lot of consequences. You could be killed. For example, those who just opposed him directly or indirectly, some of them were slaughtered. Ka'b ibn al-Ashraf, he wrote a poet about the Prophet of Allah, criticizing him. He was slaughtered. Asma bint Marwan is a woman, a Jewish. Actually, they were all Jews. She also wrote a poet in criticizing the Prophet of Allah. He sent her a guy to assassinate her. He murdered her while she is nursing her baby. Qurfa, an elderly Jewish woman, he tore her apart. So this man, I guess he was wiser. So to criticize the Prophet of Allah directly, he knew there will be a consequence. So the man told him he seems to have been in business, he knows how to deal with people, and he doesn't want trouble. So he told him, you know me, I love women. So don't touch on the soft spot in my heart, because you know me, I cannot resist women. However, I will give you money to help you in your invasion, and let me stay here. I don't want to fight. And then the Prophet of Allah, he received from heaven, of course, where else? The Quranic verse, and I'm going to put it in the description box. I'm going to read that, my own translation, but there will be translation I'm going to put it in the description box. and you can read the translation for yourself. There are a few translations, read them, and you can do your own research. Of them, those who would make excuse so that they don't go out with you to fight. Okay, those they fell into a low place and they will go to hell. This man chose not to fight, and he was wise not to say it directly, but he made an excuse that I don't want to ruin my life, I will give you money. This is very dangerous for the Prophet of Allah. Why? Because it means this is indirectly, this man is standing against the Prophet of Allah, indirectly. And if you do that, that means other people could actually stand against him. Of course, he doesn't want that. He wants total loyalty. He doesn't want people to have their own mind. He wants to be a dictator. Let's go out and fight. Let's go and invade. Everybody must say, yes, sir, let's go. To try to make an excuse, you are actually indirectly giving a signal to other wealthy people that you can sit behind. You don't have to follow him 100%. So the Prophet of Allah didn't like that very much. And therefore, we have that Quranic verse kind of saying that this person is the lowest in hell. He will go to hell. Why did I choose to give this video the name of the Prophet of Allah? The word pimp. There was hadith. I'm going to read it for you. It's in Arabic, but also it's translated. You can it says the meaning, the main part of the hadith. Three types of people, Allah will not accept them in the heaven. 3 types of people. Let's examine these 3 types of people. I really don't agree with them, but I'm just giving you the translation of the hadith, and it's somewhat honest translation there. Okay. One of them is the one who is addicted to alcohol. And the word used here, the child who is not respect his parents. You know, in the 10 Commandments, respect your parents, something like one of the 10 Commandments. So if you don't respect your parents, I don't think in Judaism it says that you will go to hell for eternity, but here it does. So anyway, you will not go to heaven because, I mean, I'm not advocating for any son or daughter to be disrespectful to their parents. No, not at all. But I mean, I disagreed with my parents, both of them, about so many things. That does not mean that they will send me to hell. And my kids, we have disagreement also. I have disagreement with them sometimes, but that does not mean I will wish on them to go to hell for eternity. But anyway, this is what's written. And the third type of person Allah will not allow him to enter heaven is the pimp. The definition of a pimp is a person who have either one or more than one woman, and he goes out to find her customers, to have sexual intercourse with that woman. Or there's not actually, no, sexual intercourse, this is between husband and wife. This is like to violate this woman. Violation. Okay, that's the pimp. Okay, so when you tell this man, Al-Jad bin Qais, let's go to Tabuk, that area in the north, to invade, and your prize is these blonde girls. Your prize, when you come with me, I'll take you up north, and you will get women to have sex. What is happening here? Isn't that the definition of being a pimp? I don't take delight in describing what's happening here and what this person came 1400 years ago gave us to actually read through it. It is painful to know what he had done. It's not a simple thing. When you go back, put yourself in the position of these people who have practiced, suffered such violation. And if you say, no, my morality does not allow me, either directly or indirectly, if you say it directly, you will be killed. If you say it indirectly, you will be condemned in a way like humiliated. Okay? He described this man because he didn't want to go out to fight and politely stepped back. He cannot kill him. He cannot, because the guy was polite. Whereas other people criticized him verbally. You do that verbally, you are threatening my existence. Therefore, you ought to go. You must die. So I don't take delight in criticizing this now or reading through this garbage material. It is actually garbage. And always the question I ask myself, many of these people who believe in this garbage, I call it garbage. Actually, I'm sorry to the garbage, actually. Many of them are doctors, lawyers, engineers, teachers who educate people to build new generation mentally and physically and so on. These people, unfortunately, are in a mental prison. The Prophet of Allah put them in a mental prison that they can think only within certain frame. If he is a doctor, dentist, lawyer, teacher, only the frame that the Prophet of Allah gave me. If the Prophet of Allah said, and there are many videos about that in case you can actually research it, many of the Muslim clerks until now saying scientists are liars because the Quran says the earth is flat. It is flat. It is flat. And if you are a teacher, you believe that the earth is sphere, and you teach that to the student, and then you go to the mosque, you listen to your preacher telling you that the earth is flat. How can you reconcile that in your own mind? How can you accept that science is one direction and this nonsense is the opposite, totally opposite? you must be in pain. Any human being who is in that contradictory nature is not at peace. You can never be at peace. So, to the doctors, uh, the Prophet of Allah, he healed people with honey. What if you are diabetic? No, no, no. The Prophet of Allah said the honey has to heal. It heals people. It must heal from diabetes. You're joking. You're joking. So you can be a doctor, but your brain, I'm sorry, is not working. It works only in a certain area, in that prison that the Prophet of Allah put the walls that put around your head, around your mind. I'm sorry, it's not easy. Thank you very much. We hope to hear from you.